the story of Zacchaeus. Today we are going to see Zacchaeus in a depth with which you probably have never met before or have never encountered. And I'm sure, as children's story is shared in the churches a lot with the children. There was a wee little man, and a wee little man was he. Zacchaeus, he climbed up the tree for the Lord he wanted to see. And we are very familiar with Zacchaeus' story, but we want to see Zacchaeus' story from a fresh perspective. We want to see it from a depth which we are not yet familiar, but there are hidden gems and there are hidden truths in the story of Zacchaeus with which we can receive so much anointing and blessing, and we are not yet familiar with, but it can help us in our spiritual journey and with our faith journey with the Lord, so that we can strengthen our faith and our belief in our Lord, and also our faith to face the difficulties of this life. And as I've already asked you this question, that are you familiar with the story of Zacchaeus? And everybody said yes. So we're also going to play a small game. When I ask a questions, I want to see the hands being raised, and the hand that goes up first, I will call out first, and we will get the answer. The correct answer gets 1 point. Okay. So the first question is a very simple question. Okay. Very, very simple question. And just give me one answer. Just one answer. Okay. Story of Zacchaeus. You're familiar with this personality. You're familiar with this story. Jesus going and having an encounter with him. So just for 1 point. Okay. What are some of the things, some of the traits, some of the personality traits you can tell me about Zacchaeus? Nobody knows anything about Zacchaeus. Opportunity, because you have heard me speak about this topic before, and of course my wife has heard me speak about this topic. So but you will get an opportunity, but just in the end. You were there yesterday as well. Okay. So I've shared this message in Urdu before, and there are some participants who were there. So we will not call it cheating, we will just call it revision. These students are very diligent that they are coming to hear me for the second time. It's an honor, actually. So this was a short guy. Okay. Some just whatever traits, whatever personality traits, whatever something, whatever you remember about Zacchaeus, you can share. Okay. So he was a short guy. What else? Yes. He was not only a tax collector, he was a chief tax collector. So no more points for you now for some time. Okay. What else do we know about anything that you remember from the story? Anything that is connected to him? He was a chief tax collector. He was short. What else? Give somebody else also an opportunity. He invited, wrong answer. Jesus invited himself to his house. So he did not invite himself to his house, but you will get a point for having the bravery to raise up your hand and answer. So you do get a point. Yes, sister, you are feeling. Yes, he wants to see Jesus. Okay, very good. So 1 point for Maso. Okay. So give somebody else also. Okay, Angela.
He was ready to see Jesus.
He was ready to see Jesus. Okay, let's give her a point. They're just twisting the words and using the same thing so that they can get a point. They can get points. So let's give them the points. Okay, let's give somebody else an opportunity. Tell me something else about him. He was a chief tax collector. Okay, he was short. Now, about his personality, or his who he was as a person, as an identity. What was his identity? What was his identity? We want to know that. Okay. So, what else can you tell us about him from the Bible? Anything else? He was very keen yesterday. He was taking notes yesterday because I want to pass the test. So, let's give you an opportunity. Okay. He was rich. This was okay. He's not the wealthiest man, but he was very, 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 very rich. How can you miss this point? This is his main point in the story, that he was very rich. Okay. What else do we know about? Yes, sister. Okay. He was an unliked person because he was a tax collector. Okay. Good point. And we are about him, about his own personality, about his identity. And it's a very vital point. Very vital point. He was humble and open to change. A good chat GPT answer. I like it. Let give them a point, please. Because at least, for in our language, they say, kal ke liye bhi akal. So, they use their brain, and I like it. This is the future. This is the future. So they are utilizing it. Okay, good, good, good. Anything else we know about him? Yes. Okay, he was a Jew. Good. Good point. Now, you are supposed to get every time half point, okay? But give him a full point, no problem. Because so he was a Jew. This is a vital part of his identity. He was a Jew who was hated by the Jews, okay? He was very rich. He was very short. He was a Jew. He was very rich. When the Bible says he was rich, this is not just a normal rich, but this is a very rich, a very, very a millionaire, not okay? He was very, very rich. So he was rich and he was short. And we want to understand the mindset of Zacchaeus. We want to understand what is going on in his brain. We want to understand his psyche. We want to understand, we want to look at his thought process. Now the Bible does not give us much detail, but Bible gives us enough to understand what kind of a person he could be. And we also know some historical facts which we are going to take into account to understand Zacchaeus in a deeper way. Okay. He was a tax collector. And on top of that, he was a chief tax collector. Okay. Now, no specific, he's collecting tax from his own people. Okay. Anybody knows how in those days, in the times of Jesus, how they became a tax collector? Anybody has an idea? How did they become a tax collector?
They were appointed by the Romans to be a tax collector.
They were appointed by the Romans, true, but mostly false, not correct. They were not appointed. What did it mean to collect tax from your own people? If you are to collect tax from your own people, how would the people perceive you? How the people would look upon you?
That you are betraying.
So you are betraying the nation. Who is who is the tax being collected for? Who is the tax being collected for? For the Roman Empire. The tax is collected for the Roman Empire. And who is the Roman Empire? For the Jews. Who is the Roman Empire for the Jews? Who are they? Yes, the oppressor. Martin gets a point. They are the oppressors. What else are they? Who are they? Who are the Romans in the sight of the? They are the enemy. Exactly. One more point for Steve. So, they are the enemy. They are the oppressor. They are somebody who is oppressor not only in the sense of a political power, but they are also an enemy and an oppressor in the sense of a religious power, because they believe they are on the Holy Land, which has been occupied by the Romans, which was given to them by God Himself. So not only is it depressive because of politically they are oppressed, but also religiously they are not able to, although they had religious freedom, but not in the sense in which they had in the times of King David, for example, or King Solomon, or so forth and so on. So there is a kind of a political and a religious oppression. And what is the work of the tax collector? The work of the tax collector is to collect the tax and pay to the Roman Empire, because Roman Empire has a lot of expenses. Okay. The Roman Empire has a lot of expenses. Those expenses, part of it is covered by collecting taxes. How did the Roman Empire collect taxes? So you see, they did a preliminary assessment or a measurement of how much tax should be collected from a certain region. Now, in the land of Israel, it was divided tax wise, it was divided into three parts, and one of the parts fell into the area from which Zacchaeus was. For 1 point, the next question, and those who heard me will not answer, from which part was Zacchaeus from? From which city? Others will answer, other than Angela. If any, okay, let's give Martin a point. He was from Jericho. Okay. And sister was there. Sister Jofi was in Jericho recently. She brought us some dates from Jericho. Just imagine, the dates are coming from Jericho. So we can give you a date to try, so you can just, we will give you when we will talk about the tree and the going up the tree, so that you can actually, so this is, not a coincidence, but this is a providence that God brought you a fruit from Jericho to taste while we talk about the city of Jericho from the times of Jesus. Now, Jericho was one of the regions which was the capital of collecting the taxes, because Israel was divided into three regions when from where the taxes were collected. And Jericho was one of them. And Jericho was a great trade city. It was a great trade city because there were many roads that were trade routes. And one of the great trade routes that went to Jerusalem went through Jericho. This means that a lot of traders used to pass through Jericho. And when they passed through Jericho, they have to do what? They have to pay tax. And who's going to collect that tax? Zacchaeus is going to collect that tax. Now, Zacchaeus is a chief tax collector, which means he does not collect the taxes himself. Who collects the taxes? He has other tax collectors under him who are actually doing the dirty work. But he is the chief, and he has many employees, or he has many tax collectors under him. Now, the taxes were collected in a way in which the Roman Empire decided and said, from this one region, this is the amount of tax that we want. So there used to be a kind of polls. They would announce this position, an open position. So people could bid for it. So people could bid for it, and the rich people could bid for a tax collecting position. And that for that tax collecting position, they wanted from that certain region a certain amount of money. Now, whoever had the money would go and pay up that money. And then what he has to do? He has to collect that money from the people. And there was no governance, there was no law on how much the tax collector could collect from the people. So, in a way, the tax collector had the freedom to do what? Had the freedom to collect as much tax as he wanted. There were no set rules. There were some vague ideas, some vague rules, but there were no set rules. So the tax collector could come up with certain rules for himself. So what would the tax collectors do? Profit hungry, not profit, God sent profit, but money sent profit. What would they do? They would collect much more than what was the right thing to do. They would collect. So there is a right tax to collect, and Jesus was not never against it. But what was the problem with these tax collectors? You see, one time these tax collectors went to, what's his name, John the Baptist, and they said, what should we do? And this is what John the Baptist answered and said in Luke chapter 3. Sister, if you can look up the scriptures. So read Luke chapter 3 and verses 12 and 13, and we can see over here what is the advice of John the Baptist to the tax collector. So although the people hated them, from Jesus' perspective, the tax collectors are not not necessarily the bad people, because we all have to pay taxes. But there was something bad about the tax collectors, and we can see from the words of John the Baptist. What does it say?
Yeah. Then tax collectors also came to be baptized, and said to him, Teacher, what shall we do? And he said to them, Collect no more than what is appointed for you.
So, from the biblical perspective, collect taxes, but do not do what? Do not collect more than what is appointed for you. And they used to do what? They used to collect much more taxes than what is appointed for them to collect, or what is rightful for them to collect. And that's why they were hated, and that's why they were seen as betrayers. I mean, collecting any amount of tax, they didn't like to pay the taxes, but they became much more notorious because they used to collect much more than what is right. And this is how Zacchaeus became very, very rich. Now, Zacchaeus, as we see, we want to understand the mindset of Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus was a short person. Okay? He was a short person. Now, let's imagine, and when the Bible says short person, now does the Bible mention height of the people?
Sometimes.
Never, Bible has never ever mentioned a height except one case. There was only one person.
Goliath. He was
Yeah, well,
9 feet.
that's a giant. That's a very different. Okay, so it's a okay. Let's consider Goliath, but that's a very specific case. But Bible usually does not mention height. Go ahead and read Luke chapter 3. Okay, sorry, verse 2. Let's see Luke chapter 19
And he sought to see who Jesus was, but could not because of the crowd. So he
for he
ran
was
ahead.
of short stature. So we see over here that when the Bible mentions that he was short, and people in those days were not really very tall people. So when the Bible mentions that he was short, that means he was really, really short guy. And there is a problem with being obviously too short. When you are born short, and so in today's world we will call them dwarfs, right? Any famous dwarfs you remember? Don't mention Game of Thrones, okay? So a dwarf person can be noticed in the crowd. Now, what happens when you are short? What happens to the person itself? First, we want to see that what happens to the person if a person is short in height. Okay. And if there is, we want to see that, but we also want to see if a person is short, how the other people perceive. So just imagine for yourself, if a person is born short, let's consider that as well. If we are looking from the people's perspective, people start to do what? They start to make fun of you. There is a spirit of comparison. They start to bully you. They start to do what? They start to tease you. They start to taunt you. They make fun of you. They say bad words about you. Now, what sort of feeling does that create in the person who is short? Who's that? Yeah, yes. It causes sad and embarrassed. So it makes you sad, embarrassed. What else? John, I think you have a good experience. Yes, Martin. He feels rejected. He feels sad. He feels embarrassed. He feels rejected. Yes, Mari. Yeah, so you have anxiety. Okay, very good. All of them are getting good points now. Okay. Well, yeah, kind of. Yes, yes. See, there is a kind of a, not feeling worthy enough. So there is kind of a, not a hate, but kind of a, yeah, not liking, So you're not like, you don't like yourself. Okay. And that really, really causes a lot of mental issues, which we want to understand from the life of Zacchaeus. Okay. Anything else you can think of? It causes shame. Who's that? Yes. So, yeah, it causes you shame. Now, all of these are all complex emotions. These are complex feelings. Now, when a person, growing up, and maybe we live in a more politically correct world today. But back in the day, nobody cared about political correctness. They did not care about other people's feelings, and they would say as it is, right? Other kids would be making fun of him, if he was going to school or whatever. This guy was intelligent, so most probably he has studied. So they would be making fun of him, and there is a kind of feeling low self-esteem. There is, you look down upon yourself. There is something missing in you. And when the Bible mentions that he was short, it does not necessarily mean he was short of stature. He was short of stature, but there was something else also short in his life, and that was maybe self-confidence. Maybe there was a missing, he had low self-esteem, self-respect. He was short in self-respect. He was missing all these things, because this is what a normal short person, or anybody who is short in anything in his life, would go through. And this not necessarily means height. This not necessarily means height. We can be short in any other aspect in our life. And I'm not necessarily talking about now physical aspect. Okay? Where we are going through many shortnesses in our life. And the feelings, the emotions that Zacchaeus was going through, that Zacchaeus felt, are the same emotions that we feel, because we also are lacking something in our lives, and there is also some shortcomings in our lives. And because of those shortcomings, and because those things are missing in our life, sometimes those things cause us to have fear, shame, low self esteem, low self respect, feeling unworthy, not feeling loved. We feel that we are missing out. Being short because he was in a crowd, separated, made him very lonely. And when we go through these emotions of feeling unworthy, and there is something short and there is something missing, and when we are living our lives in this world, there are definitely going to be many aspects in our life in which we are going to feel that there is something missing in our life. And when we focus so much on that thing that is missing in our life, it becomes, it might be a small thing, but inside it will become bigger and bigger, like a ball growing, like a snowball growing, and it becomes so big sometimes that it bursts out emotionally, and it causes us a lot of spiritual, mental, and spiritual, and even physical harm. So we have to understand what are the shortcomings in our life, and what are the things that are causing us low self-esteem, what are the things that are taking away our happiness, our joy, and are causing us to feel spiritually and emotionally insecure. And we must know how to deal with them through the life of Zacchaeus and how he dealt with it, because he is a person who is going through a lot of emotional, spiritual issues, battles within himself. Yes, sister. Sometimes these kind of people blame God. Why are there these shortcomings in my life? And it is very true, because we are looking to blame someone else. Sometimes we blame God, but sometimes we blame somebody else. It could be a relative, it could be our parents, it could be the society, so forth and so on. Now, if Zacchaeus of shortcomings in his life, or something is missing in his life, short people, they are special people. Right, John? They're special people. So, short people, they have if there is something missing, let's say the height, okay? If there is something missing in their life, they're going to pray. Do. They are going to find a way to overcompensate their shortness. What else is lacking from a short person's life? Contentment, right answer. What else? Self respect, dignity. Yes, true. Height, yes. So, self respect, dignity, honor. You see, they don't feel that. You know what it makes them? Which is a positive thing, but they overdo it. It makes them more ambitious. It makes them more ambitious. They're sort of short people, to overcompensate. They have this, they have this urge in them. They have this passion in them to become what? To become great, or to do something great. Why? Because they believe they are going to receive their honor, their name, their respect back. It makes them, and there have been many powerful short people in this world. Okay, can you name one? Very powerful. David, yes, okay. He was anointed by the Lord. That's what gave him the power. The Bible does not mention about his height, so I'm not saying. Yeah, Napoleon, he was a short guy. Hitler, he was a short guy. Yes, but I don't know about his height. If you say, okay. So these guys were short, but they were overcompensating to do what? To become very powerful, because they wanted to regain what? Their respect, their honor. Something is missing from the life of Zacchaeus. He wants to get it. He wants that self-respect, you know, that honor in the mind of Zacchaeus and in our mind. How can Zacchaeus do it? How can Zacchaeus? By having a lot of money. Jesus was a solution, second, the real solution. But first comes the human solution. So for us humans, we think what? We think if we want to get ahead in life, we need to become much more rich, more powerful, a greater position. And we look for what? We look for material things to achieve greatness in our life. And we are, all of us, we have ambition in our life. Some have more, some have a little bit less. But when we have this great ambition in our life and when we want to get ahead in our life, we think the more we collect, the more rich we become, the more powerful we become, which is true in some senses because money does give us power. Money does give us power. Money gives us, solves a lot of our problems. And it does give us respect. It gives us comfort. It solves a lot of our problems. But in the story of Zacchaeus, the Bible mentions very clearly that he was rich. And what else was he doing? What else was Zacchaeus doing in the story? He was not only waiting, he was looking for Jesus. If money solves all the problems of life, why is Zacchaeus seeking Jesus? If money, because he was very rich, very rich. And he can solve all the problems of his life. If he wants security, he can get security. If he wants comfort, he can get comfort. If he wants a luxurious house, he can get a luxurious house. If he wants good food, he can get good food. If he wants servants, slaves even, he can get slaves and servants. Whatever he wants in life, he can get because he is extremely rich, yet there is something inside him which is not giving him the satisfaction that he wants, which he thought will be received by money, but he has not yet received. And that's why he is doing what? He is seeking Jesus. Now, I am not against earning and getting money. I'm not against that. In fact, I am for it. In fact, I am for it. But in a certain way, Now, Zacchaeus got rich. He's seeking Jesus. What does that tell you about his mentality at that time? That's also true. Yeah, Jesus was very famous. So everybody wants to see Jesus, but there was a reason. I'm asking the reason. Yes, Mary? He was curious. That's very true. But why? He wants to become tall, and he saw so many miracles. And actually, Jesus just recently did a miracle raising Lazarus from the dead, and he thought maybe if he could raise somebody from the dead, maybe he can make me tall. But I think he's not looking for Jesus because he wants to be taller. And he doesn't want a surgery. At that time, there were no surgeries to become taller, and he's not looking he's looking at Jesus so that he can be taller. There is something else. Yes, ma'am. It's 2 points. Wow. He he is looking for he's looking for satisfaction. He's looking for peace. He's looking for honor. He's looking for respect. And after earning all that money and getting everything in life that he thought will fulfill all he dreams, getting all the money that he thought that will fulfill his dreams, he realized, he came to a point of realization. And what was that point of realization? That all the money in the world cannot give him true peace and true satisfaction. Only Jesus can. Jesus can. What we are looking for in the outer world can never, ever really satisfy us. We have been looking and looking, and we are going here and there, and maybe there are things missing in our life. Maybe it's financial, and maybe it's family, and maybe it's relationship, and maybe it's career, it's job, it's education, this whatever it is, and we have been looking for answers else. And we have not gone to the source. We have been looking for answers elsewhere all our lives, and we have not gone to the source. But in fact, and the fact of the matter is that the source of all the solution to all the problems in our life is actually walking towards us, but we have never really been ready to see it because we are doing what? We are seeking solutions elsewhere. Zacchaeus has come to a realization that all the money in his life cannot give him true satisfaction, cannot give him true peace, cannot give him what he is looking for. And my question is, how did he come to? Because Jesus is going to answer the greatest need of Zacchaeus. The greatest need of Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus has two great needs. Two great needs. One of them, Zacchaeus has a need to really, and Zacchaeus himself does not know this. Zacchaeus does not even know what his need is, and regardless of Zacchaeus not knowing what his need is, Jesus is going to solve the greatest problems of Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus himself, he is seeking Jesus. He is seeking Jesus, but Zacchaeus himself does not know. He knows his answer is going to come from Zacchaeus, but he does not really even know what his problem is. He just knows that inside, deep in his heart, there is something missing. Because, first of all, he does not know who he is. And a second great need inside him is a need to know that he is okay with the Lord. Because the people consider him what? The people consider him. You want to go ahead and read, Luke chapter 19, uh, uh, Luke chapter 19 and verse 7. And we are going to see what the people are considering him.
Okay. He has gone to be a guest with the man who is a sinner.
So what are the people looking at him as? As a sinner. Now, if everybody looks upon you as a sinner, what does that make you think? That you are a sinner. Good point. When everybody keeps calling you a sinner or whatever they are calling you, we have a tendency to do what? To listen to the people and give ear to them, and whatever people identity people have given us, we take it upon us. And what is the identity given to Zacchaeus by the people? That he is a
Sinner.
he is a sinner. And just imagine living with that guilt. Just imagine living with that guilt, because they were outcasts. They were not welcomed into the society. And if you cannot go to the temple, what they cannot do?
Pray.
Hmm?
Pray.
They could not pray. Okay, what else?
Sacrifice.
They cannot sacrifice. What does that imply?
That there is no forgiveness.
There is no forgiveness of?
Their sin.
There's 3 points in a row. So there's no forgiveness of sin. Because today, how is forgiveness of sin? You pray and it's gone. But in the Old Testament, it was not so. How did you get forgiveness of your sins? You had to take an animal into the temple and give, if you're not even allowed there. In fact, if you go to the Gospel of Luke chapter 18, there's the parable of the Pharisee and the tax collector. Let's go ahead and see that. And we see in verse number 13. Okay. Verse number 13. What does it say?
And the tax collector, standing afar off, would not so much as raise.
Standing afar off. They are going to the synagogue, but he's not allowed to go in. So where is he standing? In the back. He's standing far off. And this is a parable told by Jesus. So go ahead and read it. One of the things that Jesus was known for was that he used to spend time with tax collectors and sinners and prostitutes. And Jesus here is mentioning in this parable what? What is Jesus mentioning? That he's mentioning, he's comparing a Pharisee and a tax collector, and he's saying the tax collector went home justified. So Jesus had a sympathy for the tax collectors, and he has heard stories about tax collectors, that he has been to other tax collectors' homes before, and there is a tax collector who is already not only forgiven, but he is what? He is a disciple of Jesus. And that's giving what? Hope to, that's giving hope to Zacchaeus.
Yeah.
And he's thinking that there is some hope for him. There is some way, because there is no traditional way for him to get what? Forgiveness of sin. And he is thinking now there is some way to be connected to the Lord by Jesus. But there is a problem. There is a problem. Let's go to Luke 19 and verse 3 again and see what is the problem. He sought to see who Jesus was, but could not because of the
crowd.
What is the hindrance that is causing him to not to be able to see Jesus? It is the crowd. It is the people. Now, what does the crowd and the people represent for our lives? Blockage. People, other people, the work and responsibility. So life, work, responsibilities, what else? Other people, sorry? Emotions also. Our state of emotions many times is a hindrance for us to see Jesus. What else is causing us a hindrance to see Jesus? Work, responsibilities, our mood, our emotions. wrong associations, wrong people, the crowd, because of the crowd he cannot see Jesus. The bad habits, brother, you're right on point. Maybe you're experiencing them. Good one. So the bad habits are not allowing you to do to maybe you scroll too much, maybe we have a Netflix problem, maybe we have social media problem, maybe we're so busy all the time that we do not have time to see Jesus. Those are the things that are causing us, that are causing what? Hindrance for us to see Jesus. And we want to understand through the life of Zacchaeus what is the solution to that problem. So we are in Luke 19 and we're going to see verse number 4 and we are going to see what the solution to that problem is. So he ran ahead and did what?
Climbed up.
So he ran ahead and he climbed up. Now, have you ever seen a dwarf person running?
In the movies.
Yeah, have you ever seen a dwarf person running? Isn't it funny? I'm sorry to say this. It's not politically correct. But people who are very short don't run that often. And they especially do not climb trees. They do not climb trees. And rich people do what? Rich people make other people climb trees. Rich people, this rich person will not run. He will make other people run. He will not climb trees. But why is he running? Why is he climbing a tree? Because, yes, Martin. Okay, very good. His desire to see Jesus outweighed the embarrassment of running and climbing a tree. And he did what? He ran ahead. And what I want to share today is that the only way we can see Jesus in our lives is if we run ahead of our responsibilities, of our work, of our distractions, of our bad habits, of our wrong association, of anything in our life. He ran ahead of the crowd, and the crowd represents what? Those things that are causing us hindrances to see Jesus. And unless and until we make time and give priority to Jesus and set time aside for the Lord, that this time is sacred, and no matter what, no distraction, no social media, no notification, no phone calls, no nothing, no work responsibilities, and even no family responsibilities are going to hinder me from running ahead and coming. So when we go ahead and read verse 5, let's see what that says.
The place.
And when Jesus came to the place. Brothers and sisters, what I want to share with you is that there is a place where Jesus wants to come and meet you. But the only way we can meet Jesus in that place is if we run ahead of all the things that are causing us distraction and that are causing us hindrance. Jesus is coming to that place where he can have an encounter with us. Jesus is definitely going to that direction. The question is what? Are we running ahead and climbing the tree? Is it easy to climb a tree? Yeah. We have to leave the comfort zone to climb a tree. It's a hard thing to climb a tree. So to meet Jesus, is it hard? In some senses, yes. It's going to cost us what? Leaving our laziness, leaving our distractions. So that's why it's not comfortable. It's not easy. It is very easy. If we are ready, it's very easy to meet Jesus. But what is causing us the difficulty? The world, the people, the situation around us is causing us our responsibilities and nothing else. Those things that are causing us hindrance to see Jesus. Sometimes we are seeking solutions in those things, thinking that those things can give us satisfaction. But the true satisfaction in our life can only come if we make the time enough to come ahead and do what? And meet Jesus in that place. So what is the solution? The solution is that we have to run ahead of our time, of our schedule, of our responsibilities, of whatever we have in our life, and to come to that place. And he climbed a specific type of a tree. What type of a tree was that? It was a sycamore tree. Sycamore tree is a fig tree. It is a type of a fig tree. There are two types of fig trees, and this type of a fig tree is the poor man's fig. It's the what? It's the poor man's fig, because this fig was not sweet enough. This fruit was hard, it was not sweet enough, and before it was ripe, You had to physically climb and cut the fruit a little bit so that it can become ripe and you could eat that fruit. And even that, it was not sweet enough. But there was another kind of a fig tree that had a very, very sweet fruit. Okay, and very juicy fruit. This was not juicy, this was not sweet. There was a different kind of a fruit tree which was sweet and juicy. That was the rich man's fig tree, and this was the poor man's fig tree. And this tree was associated with what? This fig tree was associated with poverty. This fig tree was associated with poor people. Now answer me this question: do do rich people like to be associated with the things of the poor people? Angela, is that true?
No.
They don't like poor people's things, right? Who over here likes poor people's things? Nobody's raising their hands. Everybody likes branded stuff, I guess, right? You like? Don't. Yeah. So we all, let's be honest. Let's be honest. Everybody likes an iPhone. Come on, guys. Nobody wants, no. Okay, yeah, Martin is a good guy. Not no, no. Okay, but do you like unbranded stuff? You like unbranded stuff. Okay, so 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 I don't have a hat. Sign up for to take it off for you. I'm taking off a non-physical hat. Sharon, please take off your hat for her. Okay, so that's honor. But ladies, if a lady is telling me she doesn't like branded stuff, congratulations, brother. You're a lucky guy. So ladies like what? Ladies, I mean, not only ladies, everybody likes branded stuff, right? Now there are some people who really like to show it off. They want big chains and big logos on their clothes. But generally, people don't like to associate with what? Even if it's only quality. So this tree is associated with poor people. One of the qualities of this tree is that it has a low hanging branches, which makes it easy to climb up. Now, Jericho, much of Israel is a desert area in that time, but Jericho itself is a garden city. It's a city. This is not the same Jericho which Joshua went around and the walls came down. This was a city situated adjacent to that or near that. It was built by King Herod, and this city had palaces, and it was a grand city, and it was a city that had a lot of gardens, trees. Why? Because the river Jordan passed near it just before it went into the Dead Sea. So there was water there, there was greenery over there, and there were trees over there. And what I want to share with you is that if you have a desire to see Jesus, God is going to plant a tree in your life. All you have to do is to have the humility and the energy and the desire to climb that tree. But many times we don't want to. Getting up in the morning and reading the Bible. I'm talking about myself. We do not have the desire to do what? To climb that tree. If you see, brothers and sisters, what are we discussing? True satisfaction comes from where? From only being able to see Jesus in our lives. And we are seeking it where? Elsewhere. Thus, we do not have what? True satisfaction in our life. Thus, we have to run ahead of our priorities. We have to run ahead of our schedule. We have to run ahead of our responsibilities, of our distractions. Climb that tree. Even that climbing that tree meant that he had to be humble, because that tree is associated with poverty, and he is a rich person. And the rich person does not want to climb a poor man's tree. But his desire to see Jesus is so strong that he climbs up that tree. And Jesus is doing what? He's coming his way. Let's go ahead in Luke 19, and we were in verse 5. Let's continue with that verse. Jesus is coming to Zacchaeus, and what is Jesus going to do, and what is Jesus going to say?
And when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and saw him.
He looked up, and Jesus is coming every day. He's looking up into the tree. Alan, where are you? Jesus is also seeing your struggle, but you're not on the tree. Neither am I. We don't chase our routine to do what? To be able to climb the tree and to see Jesus. So Jesus came to that place. He looked up And he saw what? He saw what? Zacchaeus. Now, in some senses, that verse does not make any sense. Who was with Jesus? There was a crowd. But in that crowd, Jesus stops everything. He is walking. And you know where is Jesus going? The verse 1 says that Jesus wants to pass through Jericho. He is going towards Jerusalem. And this is his last week coming up. In the next chapter, there's going to be the triumphant entry. And then a week from that, he is going to be on the cross. This is his last week. He's going to Jerusalem. He's just passing through Jericho. Verse 1 says, Luke 19 verse says that he was passing through Jericho. He stops, he looks up, and he sees a guy. If he is going through with the crowd, how is it possible that he is seeing a guy? What's the difference? You know what the verse said? In Luke 19 and verse 3, it says, and he sought to see who Jesus was. He sought to see who Jesus. Why was the crowd walking with Jesus? They wanted to do what? They wanted to see Jesus doing miracles. What else? They wanted to. What do we want to do sometimes? Today you guys are here. I said there will be no food and you are here. So big hands for you guys. So John is very happy. I don't know why. Maybe you'll not get to do too many dishes. That's why maybe. But they're there maybe to eat food. Jesus fed the people. He did miracles. He healed them. He said many provocative things. Maybe they are here there to see some strange show. They are good. The rest of the people are there to see what Jesus does. But why is Zacchaeus there? He wants to see who Jesus is. There's a very big difference. Other people want to see what Jesus does. And you know why most of the people want to go to church? Because they want something from God, not because they want to know God. You see, the difference is Zacchaeus wants to know God. The other people, they want to get something from God. And the crowd is going behind Jesus because they want something. They want something from Jesus. But Zacchaeus is there to see. And what does Jesus say? Let's go and read verse number 5. So Luke 19 and verse 5. Let's see what Jesus says, how he replies. What does Jesus say?
Zacchaeus.
What does he say? He says his name. He says his name. He says Zacchaeus. Now, we do not have any proof that Jesus knew him before. And do you think Zacchaeus knows that Jesus knows him? No. He thinks, if I only get a glimpse of Jesus, it's more than enough. Coming to a surprise that not only is he going to get a glimpse of Jesus, Jesus knows him personally and if you are seeking Jesus, he knows you personally by name. Because sometimes we think what in our problems. When we are going through the emotions that Zacchaeus is going through, what do we think? What did you say the question was? God, where are you? We think he is what? Distant. But God knows us by name. Let's continue to read the verse. What does it say? What does it say? Zacchaeus,
Haste and come down.
make haste and come down.
For today I must stay at your house.
Where is Jesus going? Where is Jesus going before Zacchaeus? To Jerusalem. Now, if you will see the life of Jesus, if you see the life of Jesus written in the Gospels, much more in the Bible, in the Gospels is written about the last week than his entire life. Why is that? Because that is where he is headed. That is going to the cross is the most important part in his life. And Jesus is going through some emotions of himself. Because just in the previous chapter, predicts Jesus in Luke 18 and verse 31 onwards, we're not going to read it. It says, for the third time, Jesus predicts his death. And when do you think he's predicting for the third time? What kind of just before he meets Zacchaeus, he's saying he's going to die. What kind of an emotion would Jesus be going through? We saw a lot of emotions that Zacchaeus had, but what kind of an emotion Jesus is going through? Jesus is going to go to the Garden of Gethsemane and he is going to pray, Lord, if it's possible, take away this cup from him. And blood is going to, in the place of sweat, blood is going to pour out, and he has a heavy heart and he is going towards. and he has very, very limited time. He has very, very limited time on this world, and he is on a mission, and he was going towards the cross. But because he saw the desire in Zacchaeus' heart to see him, he said, no matter I have a short time in this world, and pretty soon I'm going to go and I'm going to die on the cross, and I am just passing through Jericho. I did not come to stay here. But his desire to see Jesus made him say, I must, I must stay at your home. I cannot, your desire to see Jesus, your desire to see Jesus will bend the plans of God. The plans of God are, the plan of Jesus is go to Jerusalem, is to pass through Jericho. But now Jesus has changed his plan because Zacchaeus has this desire to see Jesus. And your desires to know God are not only going to alter God's plans for your life, they are going to alter your life completely. Your life is not already written. You are a result of the choices that you make. And when we have that desire to see Jesus, he is definitely going to come and stay at our home. For in Revelation chapter 3, verse 21, he says, I stand at the door and knock. For whoever opens, I will come in and have a meal with him. And we see, he says, I must go to your house. He's going to stay at his house, and he is going to do what? Going to eat with him. What happens if a guest comes and stays at your house and he eats with you? We recently had the opportunity to go to the US, and we went to many people's homes. We stayed there. We had meals with them. And you know what happens when you go and stay with someone and you have a meal with them? You get to know that person much more closely, much more intimately. And he says, because you have a desire to know me, I'm going to do what? I'm going to come stay with you. Did the other people like this thing of Jesus? No, they said he's gone to do what? He's gone to be with a sinner. And Zacchaeus said, Lord, Lord, I will, when Jesus said that, he said in verse number 8, go ahead and read verse number 8, and let's see what Zacchaeus is saying here.
Then Zacchaeus stood and said to the Lord, Look, Lord, I give half of my goods to the poor, and if I have taken anything from anyone by false accusation, I restore fourfold.
He said, I'm going to give half of the things to the poor, of my wealth to the poor. I'm going to restore fourfold. You know how much they're supposed to restore if they have taken something from somebody which was not lawful? They're supposed to return 20% more. But he says, I'm going to give 4 times more. Now, why is he giving 4 times more? He's not required to do that. Did Jesus say do that? In the previous chapter, there is a rich young ruler who is going to come. Jesus is going to tell him, go sell everything and come become my disciple. He's going to say, no, I'm not able to do that. And then Jesus said, it's very hard for a rich person to enter the kingdom of God. He says it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to enter the kingdom of heaven. And the disciples answer and say, Lord, who is then able to go to heaven? And Jesus said, with man it's impossible, but with God it's possible. And Jesus never told this person he was a rich person. And Jesus is going to say in verse number 9, today salvation has come to this house because he also is a son of Abraham. What were the two big problems Zacchaeus had? His identity and salvation. In one sentence, Jesus solved all his problems. Jesus gave him a new identity, Jesus gave him salvation, and he didn't even ask for it. Did Zacchaeus ask for these things? No. Jesus gave it what? Automatically. He did not ask for it. The other rich young ruler in chapter 18, Luke chapter 18, he came and he says, Lord, how can I have eternal life? Jesus says, go and keep the commandments. He says, I've been keeping the commandments. Jesus said, one thing you lack. Go sell everything and come after me. And he went away sorrowful. Here, in this situation, he's not even asking that. And Jesus gives him, you see, when you have a desire, and There are many things that we are struggling in our life, and we are going through the motions of getting those things, but we are trying to get them with our own might and our own power. And that's what I was doing as well as a businessman for so many years. But there was no true satisfaction. There was no true satisfaction until I came to a point where I said, and I came to Jesus' feet and I said, Lord, you tell me. And when I did that, he gave me a new, and he told me, you are the servant of the Lord. He gave me. And the Lord, you see, if we are true with ourselves, we will know that we even do not know who we are until we meet Christ and He directs us and leads us, no matter how much struggle we go through in our life, no matter how much we hustle, no matter how much ambitious we are, no matter how much hard we are working, no matter what we are doing in our life to go get ahead. If we are not coming to that place and seek Jesus and allow Him to lead us and to show us who we really are, we will never be able to come to that place where we will get the answers to our life. Just in one sentence, just in one, what, if I don't know what to call Jesus, do I call him the greatest psychologist, greatest psychiatrist, the greatest, emotion reader? I don't know what. But all the life of Zacchaeus, whatever Zacchaeus was going through, all his life, from his childhood, him being insulted by others, him being called name by others, and maybe Zacchaeus wanted to get back to them. Maybe he had revenge. That's why he took more tax from them. But now he does what? He forgives them. He does not want something back from them. He forgives them. He says, I will return. And I will not only return what I owe them legally, I will return them 4 times more. So he's going to go above and beyond so that nobody will have anything in their heart for Zacchaeus that he has done something wrong to them. And Jesus sees this great gratitude heart and he solves all the problems of his life. And he says, for the Son of Man has come to seek and to save that which was lost. He has come to do what? To seek and to, you know what I used to think about Jesus? That he has to come to save the lost. That's what I. But in this encounter of Zacchaeus and Jesus, I came to really understand the mission of Jesus. He did not come to save, he came to seek and save. Is there a difference between saving and seeking and saving? Please enlighten us. What is the difference between saving and seeking and saving? Thinking about it. Think about it. What is the difference? Not 100% correct, but very, very close. So big hands for you. Very good point. Very, very, very good point. Saving only is for the whole world. Seeking and saving is for the individual. Seeking and saving means there is a collaboration. There is a partnership. God wants to save everyone, but will he save everyone? Who will he save? The one who is seeking. Seeking from both sides, from God's side, but also from the side of the person. Because God honors what? Our free will. And Zacchaeus was seeking. Zacchaeus was, and they said, okay, people are saying, this is not right. This is a sinner. Jesus says, I can't do anything about it. Look, he's seeking me and I'm seeking him. You might like it or not like it. Does it matter what Jesus? No, because that's what Jesus's mission is. What is Jesus's mission? To seek and to save the lost. What I want to end today's Bible study with, studying from Zacchaeus, learning from Zacchaeus, is the fact that we are seeking the wrong thing. What are we seeking? The wrong thing in our life. Now, those who are brave can raise their hands and tell me what are they really seeking. To be honest, be honest. Those who are brave, those who are not brave, don't raise their hands. Just acknowledge in your heart what you are seeking. Don't tell me God, okay? Don't tell me. Be honest. Be honest. We have a great volunteer. Yes, John. Wow. Very honest guy. What are you seeking? So at least John is honest. At least John is honest. What are you seeking, John? John is seeking a short. He's very specific about the kind of wife he's looking for. Why you don't want a wife that is taller than you? Okay. So John is looking for a short wife. Okay. Thank you, John. After the Bible study, we will go deeper into this conversation and we will try to find out, first of all, yes, you're seeking a good answer. You're seeking a good education. That's a good desire. And that's an honest answer. What else are we seeking? Yes. Okay. We are all seeking stability. Only one person was able to, we will discuss later what kind of stability. Yes, stability. Financial stability. Okay. Only that or more than that. Okay. Okay. You have everything. Okay. Good. Yeah. What are money? Brother, at least brother has a good, honest answer. Yeah. His vision is clear. He's not seeking Jesus. He's seeking money. That's why you had to come to study the story of Zacchaeus so that Lord can make your vision even more clearer. And may the Lord give you a lot of money so that you will find out the answer that money is good, but not everything. It's good to seek money. That will not be good. So he have to humble himself, right? That is the most humble answer. Brother is saying he's very polite. That means he has the most humble attitude. Right, 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 right. You guys are amazing. So whatever it is, whatever our desire is, whatever our desire in our life is, this is this is our testimony that we thought without our business we are nobody. But what the Lord showed us, with me, you are somebody. You are nobody without me. We thought we cannot survive without the business. We thought we cannot survive without the business. But does it seem like that I am going through a famine? Does it seem like it? Guys, I've been fed well, even though for now getting there to be nearly a year, we don't have a business. How is the Lord doing it? As they say in Hungarian, for Galmam Shinch, right? I have no idea. I have no idea how he's doing it. But one thing we have learned to do, or I might use the right term, one thing we are learning to do is to let our lives in his hand. Now, it does not mean that we do not have anxious moment. It does not mean that we do not have stressful moment. It does not mean that we do not have moments of doubt from where my provision is going to come from where the money is going to come from. But the Lord keeps reassuring us, instead of running after money, run after, like who did? The short guy, Zacchaeus. He ran after Jesus. And whatever he was seeking for, just in one verse, Jesus gave him salvation and a new identity. What is his new identity? Son of Abraham. And what is son of Abraham? It's a position of respect. Something which he never, ever had in his life. And who did he say this to? To Zacchaeus? Did Jesus say this to Zacchaeus? Jesus said it to the crowd. Because who did not respect him? Who did not give him honor? What was he seeking? Respect and honor. And where did he find this? Where did he first go to find the solution? No. He went to find the solution in? Good point. Money did not give him that. He went to find this in money. Money did not give him honor. Money did not. One encounter with Jesus, he gives him identity. He gives him respect. He gives him honor, not in his sight only, but in the sight of others. And what else does he does? He gives him salvation also. Everything that he's seeking. And everything that you are seeking for, Jesus is seeking. Everything that you are seeking for in your life, Jesus is seeking to give you. Just climb that tree. Just climb that tree. God bless you.